Championship. It was a three-way victory for Alex Sawyer, who managed to win race 1, 2 and 3 at the first round of the championship. He's going to have a little bit more to do here at Buriram, particularly considering that this is a circuit that none of the drivers competing on the starting grid have ever been to before for F4 racing. The last time we raced in F4 in the Southeast Asian Championship was under its previous stewardship back in the 2019 season. The lap record holder at this fantastic circuit, the first ever FIA Grade 1 circuit in Thailand. The lap record holder around this place in an F4 car is actually Ugo de Wilde, of all people, who now currently races in the Chinese GT Championship for the FIST Team AAI BMW squad. But his lap record here of a 1 minute 42.398 was during the first race of the 2018 F1 Southeast Asia Championship here at Buriram. So great to see all of the competitors competing here in the first qualifying session. 300 kilometers northeast of the capital city of Bangkok here in Thailand, and this is a fabulous first of 2 race events that we will be holding in this fantastic locale. Great to see all of the drivers just getting themselves up to speed then for the first qualifying session. There'll be 2 back-to-back sessions of 15 minutes. We're already into the first part of the session. All of the drivers that we had in the opening round of the championship are still with us, with a couple of changes. The Evans GP squad now only has 3 drivers rather than 2. We still have the Vietnamese driver Alex Sawyer. We still have the Australian talent Seth Gilmore, who managed to get a second position finish over the course of the first weekend of the championship. We've also got the very talented American driver Thomas Yu Lee with his multi-liveried car. And that's going to be a very interesting weekend for him as he runs as the sole master in the championship. But we also have an interesting couple of additions to the championship. We also still have the Black Arts Racing Quartet of Ben Yuing, the Vietnamese driver, Joshua Berry of Singapore, Rishon Rajiv of India, and Inigo Anton of the Philippines. So all 4 of those drivers are still in the championship, as of course is the Origin motorsport driver from China, Wang Shongwei. So he'll be part of the championship. But you may have noticed out on the circuit, and on your screen right now, if you're following the same timing frame as I am, the fabulous team from Star Performance, and that is the 2 cars light blue in their livery, and both of the drivers from Thailand, who are very appropriately enough joining the championship on home soil and will be here in a few weeks' time for the 3rd round of the championship at the Bang Saen Grand Prix, which is Thailand's equivalent of Macau. But the 2 new faces are both very impressive karting sensations back in the day. Wonapong Imwachan, very talented racing driver from Bangkok, 15 years of age. Last week was actually competing in the Yami Series Asia Karting Series in Senior X30 at LYL International in Malaysia. And Ayrton Asnathorn is the other competitor in the fray. Ayrton, a rookie just like his teammate Wonapong Imwachan. And it's 2 competitors from Thailand, both very experienced. Ayrton Asnathorn having had plenty of karting experience, both here in Asia and on the international circuit as well, upholding new honours for CRG for many a season, both as a junior and then again as a senior. This is a great chance for both men to step up into the world of the F4 Southeast Asian Championship 2025 and showcase their ability. So we're into the first qualifying session. Drivers are just getting themselves up to pace. As I mentioned before, the lap record around this place is a 1 minute 42.398, and we're currently in the 148s at the moment, so you can tell that we're not really up to pure speed at the moment. We're still getting to that stage, but the drivers have still got a little bit of speed to find in their cars at this moment in time. Contenders are just getting the lap times down. Alex Sawyer's got a 1:48.819 under his belt, so obviously setting the pace here at Chang International. The cars that previously set the lap record around here were the Miguel M14 F4s. Now, of course, we're in the Tartus TF4314s. So fascinating new car, these cars compared to the ones that we ran previously. 8 minutes left of the session. Drivers are still getting themselves dialed in. Thomas Yu Lee has done a 1:42.555, and that is already quicker than the racing pace that was set last time out. The lap record, as I mentioned, was 1:42.398. That is a 1:42.55. Well, Alex Sawyer is getting faster and faster all the time. So the pace is going to be very impressive indeed to see who does what as they get themselves faster through the course. There is Seth Gilmore, the Australian, trying to improve his current pace, and certainly hoping for a much higher trajectory as he continues on his way. Riders really now starting to find the pace. I've got a feeling that these Tartar cars are going to go quicker than the Megales that we saw back in 2018. So certainly in race trim, that's when it's really going to count. Alex Sawyer proves at that point with a 1:39.34. Inigo Anton has done a 1:40.437 already. So these cars definitely getting themselves up to speed here at the Chang International Circuit. Looking very strong and very quick indeed outdoors. So Alex Sawyer certainly looking like he's going to have another unbeaten run to pole position. He just has plenty of confidence in this car. There is Alex Sawyer, denotable by the fact that he's got the red trim on the halo and also the Vietnamese flag on the airbox side pods of each part of the car. So Alex Sawyer, Vietnam's most successful young promise after Owen Tagovailoa. Certainly two drivers who are hoping to rise the ranks and get into Formula One at some point, but certainly this young man doing a fantastic job in the F4 Southeast Asian Championship so far. Pole position in the time qualifying session for both races that were under qualifying session last time. And then, of course, taking 3 victories out of 3, despite pretty much everything that could have been thrown at him across the 3 races. So Alex Sawyer certainly looking to continue that incredible trend with a 1:39 at the moment, but he looks like he's going even quicker. There is young Alex Sawyer, former race winner in the F4 Chinese Championship, actually won the Chinese Grand Prix support race last year in F4, was also a winner in the F4 Indian Championship back at the end of 2023. So plenty of opportunities for young Alex Sawyer to continue his incredible pedigree as he makes more progress and moves forward. He'll come across the start-finish line. Let's see what kind of lap time he's going to come through for. And it's going to be a 1:38.99. Goodness me, that is incredible pace. As Inigo Anton goes across the line, a 1:40.267, but is still the Philippines youngster's best pace. Runs wide at turn 1, manages to get back on the circuit again. There is the Black Arts Racing driver, who certainly battled very briefly for the victory in one of the 3 races last time out. There are some laps that are being deleted here, I'm afraid to say, for track limits. It looks as though the officials are being quite hot on it at the moment to see what sort of pace the drivers are coming up with. The F4 Southeast Asian Championship is definitely going to have some really intriguing and really exciting lap times coming through. Inigo Anton on a 1:40.267. That is about 1.3 seconds off the pace of Alex Sawyer at the moment. So it shows you where the pace currently rests with the drivers at this stage of qualifying. So good performances so far. 4 minutes and 22 seconds left in the session. Ayrton Azderthorn has gone up to second place with a 1:39.182. So the new boy straight up there in the mix with Alex Sawyer. Now this is going to be fascinating because, of course, we didn't have Ayrton Azderthorn or Wonapong Imwichan in the field last time out, the 2 Thai racers, and now they've come in as rookies, and Ayrton Azderthorn is desperately trying to shake up the form book here and put Alex Sawyer in his place as we watch Rishan Rajiv, the Indian talent, race winner in both the F4 Indian Championship and the Indian Racing League over the last couple of seasons. But this is his great chance to really showcase his fine form. A great competitor, Rishan Rajiv, very fiery, a very feisty individual, comes off the final turn to cross the line. We'll see where he comes through. Seth Gilmore, 4th position in front of Rishan Rajiv for the time being. But can Rishan Rajiv go quicker still, having done a 1:40.609? The answer is no, he doesn't improve on this particular lap, and we've got just a little over 3.5 minutes left of the session. Lap times are being cancelled left, right and centre though for track limits, so they've got to be very careful how hard they push the cars. They want to make sure that they've got a lap time that's perfectly legal to take them into the fast part of the course. So the drivers are still trying to find a little bit more pace in the machinery at this point of the proceedings. Alex Sawyer, currently provisional pole position for race number 1. Ayrton Azderthorn and Seth Gilmore in the top 3, having now gone quicker. Seth Gilmore with a 1:39.657, so that puts him on terms with Alex Sawyer, who has the fastest lap of a 1:38.871. Then it's Inigo Anton, 4th quickest in front of Wong Xiong Wei, who's actually going a lot quicker than he was at Sepang. So the Budadam circuit certainly seeming to be much better for him. There is Wonapong Imwichan, who who's backed by the Top One Motorsport team in Thailand. They've been really supportive of him these last couple of seasons, and great to see him doing such a fantastic job in karting. He was challenging for the top 10 in CDX30 in the Infinity Miami Series Asia Championship last week in Malaysia, and now here he is stepping straight into an F4 car for the first time. And Pata, as he is known to his friends and family, Wadapong Imwachan, or Pata, doing a fantastic job at the moment. There is his teammate just in behind him as well, Ayrton Asdathorn, the 15-year-old from Bangkok, looking very impressive indeed. These two talents certainly coming out of the blocks pretty quickly. Bit of a lock-up there, though, from Wadapong Imwachan. He needs to find a little bit more pace if he wants to get on terms with his car and get closer to the likes of Ben Yuing and Joshua Berry. Comes through over the line and has not made an improvement on the time of 1:42.194. There is Joshua Berry, who had a rather dramatic weekend at Sepang, which ended in the first race with an off into the barriers, into the gravel trap, I should say, sorry. But certainly the moment Joshua Berry having a much cleaner start to his weekend. Still needing to find a little bit more pace compared to his Vietnamese teammate Ben Yuing, who was also racing in Infinity Miami Series Asia earlier this season, and then made the transition and the switch across to F4. Well, Alex Sawyer has already brought it into the pits, and he's already preparing for the second qualifying session. He clearly feels he doesn't need to make any adjustments on the 1:38.871 time that he's got. There's his mechanic Jason, just off to the right side of his car. Left as you see it, right as he sees it, of course. Still a bit of pressure and pace from the drivers around as Joshua Berry trying to find a little bit more than a 1:41.8 out of this car. But Alex Sawyer has clearly decided, along with his teammate Thomas Yu Lee, that he's going to bring it into the pits and give himself just a little bit more breathing time ready ahead of the next session. A little bit of a run wide there in the background from one of the competitors in the Black Arts team. I think that was Ben Yuing getting out of the way, because we're watching Joshua Berry, who's got the plain black halo on his car with a little bit of red insignia. There is the full red insignia on the Black Arts machine from Ben Yuing. So the yellow one might actually belong to Inigo Anton, the Philippines. They were all denotable by their different colours of halos. So Ayrton Asdathorn trying to get a little bit closer to the pole position set by Alex Sawyer. The time has run down to 0, and we're waiting to see if there's going to be any changes to the order. But it looks to me as though it's going to be Alex Sawyer in front of Ayrton Asdathorn, and then Seth Gilmore in third position. Checkered flag is out at the Chang International Circuit at the end of the first qualifying session of the two. So a fabulous situation in the qualifying session, and it has gone very well indeed so far. So excellent performance so far, but a really exciting performance at the moment from the competitors. There is the dual liveried Evans GP car that I mentioned earlier, belonging to the American talent Thomas Yu Lee, the Masters driver, who's going to have a very interesting race of it. They've only got a 5-minute pause in between sessions where they can change the tyres and get them sent out again, ready for the next session, and it will exactly be the same. There is the team principal, Joshua Evans, who's not one of these team principals that sits on the pit wall and lets everybody do the job around him. He very much likes to get his hands dirty as well and assist the team in making sure that everybody gets the best that they can get out of their qualifying regime. So excellent performances from Alex Sawyer so far. Fantastic debut in the qualifying from Ayrton Asdathorn. The Thai is already in second position in qualifying, and that's a great start for the young man from Bangkok. Seth Gilmore third in front of Inigo Anton, Wong Sheng Wei, Rishon Rajiv in P6 in front of Thomas Yu Lee, Ben Yuing, Wadapong Imwachan, whose final lap was quicker in the end than Joshua Berry's. So there is a full gap of just under 3 seconds between the entirety of the field. But a great start for Alex Sawyer. So there is the man second in qualifying, Ayrton Asdathorn. Already another big start in the making for Thai Motorsport. Quite a few drivers have made their way out of the world of Thailand motorsport and into the world of international. Not just Alex Albon in Formula One, naturally, but also the likes of Sandy Stuvik and Carl Bennett, who have done fantastic work in the world of sports car racing. And they're certainly going to be following in the footsteps of their contemporaries. So number 25, getting himself ready for another run. That's Rishon Rajiv, the man who's hoping to follow the likes of Narain Karthikeyan and Karun Chandok into the world of Formula One, representing India someday. The last couple of drivers just returning back to the pits after their qualifying run. And the drivers will venture out onto the circuit once again for their second qualifying session that will set the grid for race number 3. So for those who are just tuning in or have certainly not really known much about Thai motorsport in the last few years, this is the Chang International Circuit. It's only been opened about 10 years. It is the first FIA Grade 1 circuit in the country. And it was opened in October 2014, so just over a decade of racing on this particular circuit. It opened this year's MotoGP World Championship back in March. It's also been multiple different championships that have competed here, including the TCR International Series, the World Touring Car Championship, Asian Le Mans, and Super GT in Japan has even come here and raced from 2014 to 2019. Only the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic stopped them from competing in Buriram, and we're really hoping that in 2026 and beyond, the circuit will return to Super GT. That championship, of course, returning to a country outside of Japan for the first time next month at the Sepang International Circuit. There's been plenty of other great championships that are raced here. The World Superbikes came here in 2015, and which both of the races were won by the UK rider Jonathan Ray, and the Supersport race was actually won by a home favourite, Rathapark Willa Riot, who's been a fantastic competitor in the last 10 years of superbike racing across Asia. But all sorts of different championships have also competed here, along with TCR Asia. The GT World Challenge of Asia will be here in June, and there's been all sorts of competitions over the past. Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia's been here, so has the Porsche Carrera Cup of Asia. Formula Masters China visited here in its Seoul campaign in 2016, and F3 Asia was back here in the day as well. Now, of course, that would be referred to as Formula Regional, but we're all hoping that eventually next year we'll get a Formula Regional Southeast Asian Championship again. You can see there in the pits, that is Cooper Webster alongside Thomas Yuli's car, the former F4 India champion, hoping to get himself back behind the wheel of a racing car very soon. But while he's waiting for that opportunity, he is coaching the next generation of competition in F4 and various other disciplines. He's probably one of the most talented sim racing drivers on the planet as well. He would never shout and sing about it himself, so it's up to me to do so. But he is the world champion in one of the major sim racing competitions, and he's part of Team Redline, which of course is the team where we currently find the young lad who goes under the alias of Franz Hermann, also known as Max Verstappen. I wonder what happened to him. So the competitors head out onto the course then for qualifying number 2. Another 15 minutes go down on the clock, and the drivers will venture out onto the course with their next attempt to put some decent laps under their belt. And it is important that they make the most of the opportunity. The situation is going to be a very interesting one for the competitors as they look to find a decent part of the circuit to push and put the lap time in. Looks like it's a racing lap with the drivers coming out onto the circuit all en masse. So everybody getting very close to each other at this point in proceedings. So hopefully we're going to get a lot of great duels on the lap time charts. We don't need any wheel-to-wheel on the circuit itself, of course, as Thomas Yuli with his dual-tone livery, orange on one side and teal on the other. I'm saying teal because it's my interpretation of that colour rather than the official colour. If anybody thinks it's a different colour, then do please correct me. There's Inigo Anton, the number 33, the Philippines racer, with his blue halo on his Black Arts machine. And there is Wang Xiongwei, the Chinese driver for Origin. Look at the way that everybody is trying to get themselves into a decent position on the circuit to try and find a decent pace of lap time. See that Alex Sawyer and Seth Gilmore have gone together on the circuit to try and run with the same bit of racetrack. There's Inigo Anton, man from the Philippines, who's had a fantastic start to his F4 Southeast Asia journey in 2025. Certainly came up with the goods for 2 of the 3 races last time out for 2 Rookie Cup victories. The other Rookie Cup victory was taken by Ben Yuying, who was promoted into the victory when Inigo Anton was rather sadly excluded from the second race of the weekend for being underweight. Very unfortunate, both he and Joshua Berry ended up having their lap time disallowed. You can see the drivers are still not quite at the pace yet. They're still in the tyre warming and brake warming phase of the qualifying session. Still plenty to do over the course of the 3 races. We have 2 races tomorrow, race 1 and race 2, and then the third and final race of the weekend will take place on Sunday on a circuit that's hopefully going to see a lot more action over the next coming months. The Buriram circuit we'll see a lot of great motorsport take place here all the way up to December. MotoGP's already been here. They'll get the Fanatec GT World Challenge of Asia later this year, as well as 2 weekends of TCR Asia and the Thailand Super Series, which is here this weekend, of course. They'll also be returning in November. So at the moment, Joshua Berry is the first one out on the circuit to start setting the pace, but the reason he's the top of the timesheets is because nobody's set a lap time and he has the smallest number. So it's in number ascending order at the moment. Joshua Berry, Alex Sawyer, Wong Sheng Wei, Seth Gilmore, Rishon Rajiv, Hugo Anton, Ben Yuing, Wadapong Aimochan, and then Ayoko Aslathorn and Thomas Yu Lee. 10 drivers this weekend. It's not a magnificently big field, but it is adding teams and drivers to the fray all the time. And of course, you have to start small in order to grow big. Many of the F4 championships that started with a mere half dozen to a dozen drivers have all grown and got a lot more drivers in the mix. And with the growth of such a lot of the karting championships, such as the AME Series Asia, there's going to be a lot more interest for drivers to step up into the world of F4 when they turn 15. So with that, there's obviously going to be a lot more desire to get into the world of single-seater racing at the appropriate time. Certainly there's a lot of drivers in the alternative and going to try and work their way through. The F4 Chinese Championship saw one driver that I think could do very well in this championship as well, Kimi Chan, the young man from Hong Kong, who's been absolutely electrifying in karting. If he were to jump into this championship, I think he would give the likes of Alex Sawyer, Marathon Aslavor at the front a big run for their money. So there's Seth Gilmore. Into a fast lap time already, the Australian talent. It's great to bump into him earlier this year as he was getting his funding together for this campaign, as he was assisting his beloved Evans GP team at the Sydney Motorsport Park in their first campaign weekend of the season in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia Championship, which saw 2 victories apiece for the DW Evans GP squad. In fact, they managed to get a 1-2 with their Theodore sister team in the second race of that weekend. It was fascinating. Seth Gilmore was there at that particular event, soaking up all the knowledge like a sponge, trying to get as much information and data as he could. Because at this age, when you're 15, 16, 17 years of age, there are no bad experiences at a racetrack. You can learn so much and adapt so much knowledge from the various different types of racing that you familiarise yourself with, even if you're a single-seater driver or a GT specialist or a tin topper. Going to the other events and going and experience these weekends firsthand is such a valuable tool for the competitors who want to rise the ranks. There are no bad lessons in the world of motor racing when you're a teenager. Even the bad days will feel like good ones when the competitors are trying to get the most out of it. So fascinating to see just how much work everybody's been putting in leading up to this point. Hello to everybody watching along on the stream on both YouTube and on Facebook as well. We're going to have all 3 races streamed for you over the weekend as well. 2 tomorrow and 1 today. So it really is going to be fascinating to see how everybody gets underway for this weekend. But certainly in the first session earlier, we had Alex Sawyer put the car into pole position. And he's going to be wanting to do exactly the same thing coming into this one. Seth Gilmore has set the initial pace of a 1:39.8. A couple of drivers running wide at turn 1. I wonder if it's starting to get a little bit wet out there. Either that or drivers are just finding this circuit very tricky to deal with. This very fast and flowing first sector, broken up by the tight turn 1, but that long back straight loop is fascinating to keep an eye on. There in the foreground is Cooper Webster on the computer, trying to look at the data of both Seth and Alex, as well as their third man, Thomas Yu Lee. In the background, we saw the team principal, Josh Evans, along with one of their sharpest of the members of the team, who's certainly been very impressive from the outset, working as he has done several years now with this fantastic team. The squad that's put in a magnificent display over the last few weeks. Really exciting to see how everybody's been getting on so far moving forward. And of course, the very talented Jason Grant, the young man from Sydney, Australia, a very integral part of this Evans GP squad. Halfway through the session, 7 minutes 30 to go, about 7 minutes 40 to go now, so we are at the halfway point of the session. Seth Gilmore has the provisional fastest time of 1:39.4, which is comparable to what he set in the first session. But we're still waiting to see when Alex Sawyer really pushes the limits and tries to find that little bit of extra pace again. No doubt there's going to be a big lap coming from Ayrton Asdethorn as well, after what we saw in the previous session. Ayrton Asdethorn, there's the proof, 1:39.165. But Ayrton Asdethorn, the tie, goes into provisional pole position here on home soil at the Chang International Circuit in Bulawan, 300 kilometres northeast of his home in Bangkok. And a fantastic display from Ayrton Asdethorn, coming from a very sporting family, as he does actually. His mother is a fairly decent semi-pro golfer, and has been very competitive over the last few tournaments she's been playing in. Ayrton Asdethorn is looking good to continue his racing car novice season. This is only his first weekend, and he's already gone second quickest in his first session. Can he get a pole position out of this one? Well, Joshua Berry is going to cause a bit of a headache for him, the Singaporean, as he's on a flying lap. He's just found Joshua Berry in the wrong part of the race circuit, so Ayrton Asdethorn is not going to be particularly happy with finding a driver that he's already quicker than on his flying lap. So the tie will not be terribly happy with the way this has gone. He's following Josh Berry in hot pursuit. Interestingly, some times are being deleted already. 37, Ben Yuing's time has been deleted due to track limits, as Ayrton Asdethorn tries to throw his car up the inside of Josh Berry. Has not been able to, so he's had to back off the lap completely. So it's going to be a very frustrated young tie. Ayrton Asdethorn hoping for a pole position lap there, and has been impeded on his fastest run. So that's not good news for the tie. I wonder if they'll have a conversation with the Black Arts team about that one afterwards. The Star Performance team making their debut in 2025 at the second round of the championship. Here's Alex Sawyer trying to find a fast lap. What has he done? It's going to be fastest, 1:38.6. Goodness me, Alex Sawyer has found even more pace than he found in the first session earlier on. So excellent stuff from the Vietnamese talent. Alex Sawyer on 1:38.6.3. Very impressive stuff in front of Ayrton Asdethorn and Seth Gilmore. Then it is the Philippines driver Inigo Anton in front of China's Wang Xiongwei. Then we have Richard Bajid in P6 in front of Thomas Yu Lee, Ben Yuing, the Vietnamese talent, in front of Wonapong Aimwachan of Thailand, and Joshua Berry of Singapore. And it's only really Joshua Berry that needs to find the pace at the moment. A 1:41.8 puts him about 3.2 seconds back from Alex Sawyer. But Ben Yuing and Wonapong Aimwachan are only separated by 0.3 of a second now on the 1:41.1. So the gap is now only about 2.5 seconds to the whole field, other than Josh Berry. So if he can find the pace of his teammates, then it's only going to be 2.5 seconds between the whole field. Just under 5 minutes to go then. And does Alex Sawyer need another qualifying lap? Because he already pulled in for the bits early in session number 1, and he's already half a second quicker than Ayrton Asdethorn. But impressive stuff. Has now down on the inside just to prove the point from Ayrton Asdethorn to dive in on Joshua Berry. He's not going to get held up for a second lap, nor is his teammate Wonapong Aimwachan if he's got anything to say in the match to come up to the final section of the course. Oh no, sorry, that's not Wonapong Aimwachan, that is Alex Sawyer, and he puts his hand in the air and just gesticulates to Joshua Berry. What are you doing? Dawdling around on the racetrack while we're setting fast laps? Well, Joshua Berry will be quite indignant about that, Alex Sawyer. Well, I'm trying to qualify as well. Not an improvement there from Alex Sawyer, not an improvement from Ayrton Asdethorn, and not an improvement from Joshua Berry either. The three drivers who definitely didn't see eye to eye there in time qualifying. And Alex Sawyer quite angry with Joshua Berry impeding him on his qualifying lap, but then at the same time, Joshua Berry's trying to get a qualifying lap under his belt as well, and there are no blue flags in the session. He's got to try and set the pace as well. It's unfortunate that Alex Sawyer found him at the wrong part of the racetrack at the wrong time. He's got just as much right to set a qualifying pace lap as anybody else. There's Thomas Yu Lee. Teal on one side of the car, orange and white on the other side of the car. And there's a couple of lap times cancelled there. Ayrton Asdethorn has had a lap time cancelled for exceeding track limits to turn 5. It doesn't affect the lap time that he set for a 1:39.165 though, so that's not something he really needs to concern himself with. Not a big issue from his perspective. Don't forget, of course, that with 10 cars on the starting grid, we've got a reverse grid race tomorrow, the second race of the championship, and it's only the top 4 that get reversed. So finishing in 4th position is actually quite important for the competitors at this stage of proceedings. Now, being held up by Josh Berry, I wonder what that's going to do to the way that the session plays out, because I think Seth Gilmore has retreated back to the pits already. So Seth Gilmore has bailed out of his qualifying laps. 1:39.47 is the best that he will get then. So as Thomas Ulie continues working, and into the pits comes Alex Sawyer. So Alex Sawyer and Ayrton Asdethorn. So they both decided then that they can't go any quicker. So Sawyer's lap is going to be a 1:38.64. Ayrton Asdethorn's is going to be a 1:39.16. So they're not going to improve. So the session has only got 2 minutes left of it. And there is the number 24, Seth Gilmore parking it. So qualifying's over for the top 3 drivers. So that's it. Alex Sawyer of Vietnam, Ayrton Asdethorn of Thailand, and Seth Gilmore of Australia. All 3 drivers then deciding to box in, and so too does Warapong Imwuchan. So I think everybody has just decided, look, we've got everything we need out of the car. We can't get anything more. So the session could well be coming to an end early. So Warapong Imwuchan comes into the pit lane, and that's Thomas Ulie driving through the pit lane in the background as well. So Alex Sawyer gets out of the car. He may have been frustrated with Joshua Berry holding him up, but he still has the pole position by half a second over Ayrton Asdethorn, and his teammate Seth Gilmore is 0.3 of a second slower in 3rd place. Good performance again from Alex Sawyer, but what a debut from Ayrton Asdethorn, the Thai superstar, 15 years of age. In only his first weekend in the championship, he missed everything at Sepang, and yet here he comes into the Chang International Circuit round of Buriram, and he's put it in 2nd position on the grid twice. What a talent Ayrton Asdethorn is already as a rookie, missing the first weekend of the championship. And boom, pole position is not quite his, but 2nd position for both race 1 and race 3 definitely puts him in the frame for the victory. If he can get ahead of Alex Sawyer early, then we could have a real fight on our hands here. That's exactly what we want in the F4 Southeast Asia Championship. There is Josh Berry trying to improve his lap time from a 1:41.840. You can see for yourself on the timing gantry, just under 30 seconds left of this session. The Formula 4 Southeast Asia Championship, certified by the FIA, organised by Top Speed. Most of the cars have come in and parked it early, though, as there into the pits has come Wang Xiongwei. And I think pretty much everybody is going to bail out of the lap here, because it looks as though we may have a few spots of rain out on the course. That might be the reason why the drivers have chosen to bail. So that's it. The qualifying session is done for the F4 Southeast Asia Championship for race 1 and race 3. Alex Sawyer on both occasions over Seth Gilmore, Igor Anton, Wang Xiongwei, Thomas Ulie, Ben Ulie, Warapong Imwuchan, and Joshua Berry. And I can tell you that everybody has now decided to bail on the lap. They're not going to cross the finish line, they're going to park it before the garages. So that's it. That gives you your F4 Southeast Asia Championship qualifying session for round 2 of the championship here at the Chang International Circuit. It's a pair of pole positions then for Alex Sawyer, who's been absolutely invincible all the way through the session. But the big news here is that Ayrton Asdethorn, in his first weekend in the championship, the Thai superstar or the Star Performance team, has gone 2nd quickest in both sessions. Very exciting scenes here at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. We're going to get some brilliant races tomorrow. 2 races on Saturday, 1 race on Sunday. That's it then, folks. No major thrills and spills to worry about. Perfectly clean sessions and some great look backs from all of the competitors. 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds covering the entirety of the field, and we can't wait for the 3 races that we'll have here in Thailand. From Jake Sanson and everybody here, thanks for watching, and we'll see you bright and early for the race tomorrow at just after 8 o'clock in the morning, the first of our 3 races this weekend. Alex Sawyer, double pole, Ayrton Asdethorn, the new boy, already catching him up.